In this demonstration, we're going to spend some time looking at how to shrink a volume on Windows. To do this, we need to use Disk Management. So I'll right-click on the Start icon and select Disk Management. Now let's maximize the program so we can see things better. Notice that we have two disks on the system and that there's no unallocated space available on either of them. On this system, I'm storing some sensitive data, and I want to be able to isolate that information so I can more easily restrict access to it. An easy way to do this is to create a separate volume and implement those permissions at the volume level. But I don't have that option because there's no disk space free. Then one option I do have, though, is to shrink the size of one of these volumes, which will then give me the room I need to create a new one. The data volume is about 808 gigabytes in size, and it encompasses all of disk 1. Since this drive is so large, it's a good one to shrink. To do so, I right-click on the volume and then select Shrink Volume. When I do, Disk Management automatically decides the maximum amount the disk can shrink. Notice that because the data volume isn't storing a lot of information, the shrink process can be fairly aggressive. Here's the volume's size before shrinking. As we saw before, it's about 808 gigabytes. And here's the size of the available shrink space, or in other words, the amount of space we can free up. As you see, it's about 803 gigabytes. This means that if we were to select the default shown, the data volume would end up being about 5 gigabytes in size. Since I know that I'll be adding a lot more data to this volume, that'll be smaller than I want. So instead, let's shrink it to about half the size. To do that, I tell Disk Management that I only want to free up about 412 gigabytes by entering 422419 megabytes here. This is how much space will be unallocated after the shrink. In the bottom field, you can see the size that the data volume will be after the split. Okay, let's click Shrink. Now the volume has been shrunk. The data volume is roughly 395 gigabytes in size at this point, and we now have about 412 gigabytes of unallocated space available. Let's go ahead and create a new simple volume in the unallocated space. To do that, I right-click on the unallocated space, select New Simple Volume, and then click Next. I want to use all the available space, so I'll just click Next again. By default, the next available drive letter of F is selected, which is fine. Click Next. When I format the volume, I want to use most of the defaults, which include using the NTFS file system and performing a quick format. I do, however, want to change the volume label to Secure to better represent the type of data that'll be stored there. So now I click Next and then Finish. Okay, great. Our new volume has been created and is now ready for use. We can verify this by opening File Explorer and selecting this PC. Here you can see the new secure F drive. Well, that's it for this demonstration. In this demo, we shrank and split a volume on Windows.